traffic.
Big sack for the Gamecocks, J.J. Inigbari.
Lost it up, looking for Kelly. Touchdown! Can you believe it?
And now it's time for some Gamecock football.
The 25, 20, 15, 10. Rogers scores! Dindy, and Dindy spins into the open, and he's on his way. It's a tie-ball game if they can get the extra point. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown board, the second of the day.
There's never been more excitement about South Carolina football than there is right now.
I've heard all the stories of the great George Rogers. Now back in 1980, he made the whole nation holler. And I've seen that photograph of young Steve Tannehill up in old Death Valley, signing his name on the field. Yeah, and I love the year 2001, if it Williams, Bryce, Raw. Oh, what else can I say? I'm just a big old car. I come from a long line of cocks just like me, who never stop believing.
All right, Game Day Eve episode. Inside the Gamecocks, the show. I am JC Sherbert, and I do have my Gamecock pullover on. Normally don't rock the swag on the show, but did today. He is Phil Mullinax. He's got his Inside the Gamecocks, the show T-shirt on, swag there. By the way, if anybody wants to purchase one, let me know. We can do that. $25. Everybody's selling T-shirts these days. So if you like that shirt, let us know. Also, a game day today in men's basketball. Gamecocks and Clemson, SEC Network Plus, 7 o'clock, Colonial Life Arena in Columbia. Hopefully, the Gamecocks have a good showing. It's hard to tell basketball this early after one game who has the better team. Both teams were kind of sloppy against the Citadel, and then the Gamecocks, of course, played South Carolina State and won by 3. So we'll see what happens tonight. Looking forward to that one. Gives me something to do on a Friday night besides hang out and all that good stuff with the people around here. They don't understand the Gamecock. They certainly don't understand the Gamecock basketball thing. They're like, why do you with basketball? What? What's this? Illinois? Beef sandwich. Give me a beef. Yeah. Give me a beef.
Was it on SEC Plus? Was it streaming?
Yeah, streaming the Plus. So I've got a TV hooked up just for that in my man cave / viewing area / studio / turtle habitat. Used to be the formal dining room. No more. here on Carefree Drive. But looking forward to this game Saturday. Florida, South Carolina. Wrote a big piece on thebigspur.com earlier about, just the good, the bad, and the brutal that has taken place in this series. And if you think about it, a lot of good wins over Florida for the Gamecocks, program accelerating wins, a lot of bad, awful losses, and a lot of games that, the Gamecocks let get away from them that could have been, should have been, would have been over the years as well. So I broke down 15 of the 30 games in the series, or 30 games in the series since the Gamecocks joined the SEC. There were some games before, back in the 30s, when they had leather helmets, and I didn't even know Florida was a habitated state back then. I was like, well, that's nobody lived in Florida back then. It was all swamp, I'm gonna go play for the Gators. Or how people talk back then? Oh, hello, good sir. Welcome to Florida.
Welcome to Florida. Yeah, it's nothing but Disney, right? And
now it's Disney and Busch Gardens and Miami, and but Miami was like an outpost for a long time.
Yeah,
but anyway, it's a good state now. But anyway, so that's back in the 30s. Nobody really cares. So anyway, boy, thank you. Hey, Alexa, shut your mouth. Shut your hole.
Showtime, Alexa. Come on.
Quiet, lady. Anyway, glad to have you all with us today. Michael Flint coming up second hour. Nana Sports Chat Box.
I hate to bust in, JC, but I just got a text from Mr. Flint. He is
out?
Just going to be flying. He thought he would be able to make it, but it does not look like its flight is going to allow him to do so today. So he is out.
And that's fine. That's all good.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to say something about flying. I flew from Chicago to Charlotte recently. I never again, dude. I mean, it was one of those trips where like I had to get up early the next day and go to a meeting in Columbia or whatever. And so I couldn't, it was late at night. So I couldn't exactly like drink my face off to deal with everybody. And it's not the airplane so much. Airplanes always suck because everybody, they're crammed in there like sardines. People stink to high heavens. Thank God you don't have to wear a mask anymore. That was brutal too, because I get claustrophobic. It's the airports. I mean, you talk about Disney World. Literally, Midway Airport was like the queue at a like Peter Pan's flight at the Magic Kingdom, and it was that packed. And then Charlotte was that much worse. Oh man, people lose their minds. Flying sucks.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy it. I don't enjoy it anymore. Maybe I'm just getting old and cynical.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. The last flight I took was a Sunday coming out of Hartsfield, and I thought I had enough time, but they only had about a third of the TSA lines open. So yeah, it was like waiting in line at Disney World. That
got me at Charlotte too, and it's just it's awful. I could talk all day about the Charlotte airport and how much I despise it. But anyway, Nana Sports Chat Box is rocking and rolling. It is Prediction Friday. So what we want to do is give your prediction and where you're predicting from in the world. We got that all out on Twitter. I guess it's part of the mailbag and all that good stuff. And so we'll be sure to, catch all that and repeat everybody's scores and predictions and all that. I made my prediction yesterday on the Spurs Up show. I picked 31-24 Carolina. And it's funny, Phil, because the Spurs Up show puts up, my little snippets and stuff of his show, which is a good idea. We do that on ours too, on his Instagram and Facebook. But there's a lot of fans of other schools that follow them. And so people were just like, trashing me. How's that? But you guys, you think they're going to win just because they beat Vanderbilt? I'm like, no, actually, idiot. It has nothing to do with beating Vanderbilt. I don't think the Vandy game gives you a lot of hope, to be honest, considering how they played on defense. But I just think, I think people on Facebook sometimes are the lowest common denominator, especially some of these fans of other schools with their real name. They just sit there and seek people out to trash them. And then you get on their Facebook page. It's like, I just want to tell the Lord how much I love him today. And meanwhile, this guy calls me an MF and sends me.
That's right. But then I'm going to tell you how much you suck.
Tells me he's going to kill my dog and stuff in my inbox. It's like, Jesus told me to do it, Anyway, happy Veterans Day to all you veterans out there, by the way.
That's right. Yeah.
Put some stuff up there, and we certainly appreciate everybody that served. Very good day to be a vet or to celebrate vets and our country and all that. It's always interesting when Election Day comes right before Veterans Day. That may be by design, because it's like, well, all right, everybody's going to hate each other for a few days, and then the bitterness wears off because you get all patriotic. I don't know, maybe not anymore, but hell, all right. I'm going to get into the Nana Sports Chat Box. Craig Godwin. Craiger. Happy Friday. First one in. Adam says happy Friday. Clint says getting closer to game day.
Yes, sir.
Lexi says thanks all the vets out there. Yes,
that's right.
Indeed.
That's right.
Cynical Aries beat the Gators. Chancey says, how many subs do you have to get emotes for the chat? Y'all should be pretty close.
I don't know. I didn't know there was.
I have no idea. Maybe you could look that up. I think we have 4,100 subscribers on our Facebook or YouTube, and it's gone up. I mean, the Big Spur alone before we started this had like 3,100. So we've grown 1,000 YouTube subscribers since we started this thing. Colin says, "Go Cox beat Clemson and the Swamp People." Somebody named Deanna Molunax.
Is it Deanna?
I don't know. hey, girl, what's going on? Looking
Love
good,
you, baby.
fellas.
Love you.
That's Dina's. Oh, that's Dina's wife, Phil. That's Phil's wife, Dina. Jeez, what's wrong with my brain today? Austin says, "Thanks, guys. Now there's a hole in my wall after that intro." Jamie Bradford, brother. Jamie Bradford put that together for us. Certainly appreciate him. Adam says, "What's the word on Marshawn Lloyd?" Now, this is interesting. As I suspected, and this is not a knock on Shane Beamer, okay, or any coach that doesn't want to be forthcoming about injuries for strategic reasons, because they all do it. I mean, you don't feel. I know everybody went through Muschamp, which is even more maddening. He's got a toe. He's got. Does he have 9 or 10? Will he's got a chin. So do I, Will. So does. Guess who doesn't have a chin? Will Mayor McCheese. He doesn't. He doesn't have a chin.
No chin.
No chin for Mayor McCheese. But I understand we all went through that. And you go from Spurrier, he's like, "Ah, shoot, his leg's broken in 2 places, and he's going to have surgery to put the screws in." But we just wish him the best. We're just going to worry about who play. Spurrier was just like brutally honest. Nah, he's not going to play. He didn't do much. And even Spurrier said, "Well, he did a little running around, but no, I don't think." He was still kind of. The NFL makes you disclose this. They don't make you in college. So I think he's out. That's my gut. If he plays, I'll be pleasantly surprised. That's just based on talking to people. But it's also one of those things, Adam, where and Shane kind of explained this in the press conference, where it's one of those things where you feel fine for a while, and then it's like a deep thigh bruise. And I get that. So Chancey says, "Really excited to see Coach Paris' crew tonight. Going to be a good test to see where we are right now." Yeah. Don't know how good Clemson is without PJ Hall. I think they're missing. But yeah, I mean, look, and I'll say this too. This game, you got a lot of kids from the state now all of a sudden play. I mean, Hayden Brown's from, Burns. Gigi's from Columbia. Chico's from Columbia. I mean, there's in-state guys on the roster. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they got to know how much this means. I mean, some of the out-of-state guys are going to be sitting there going, "Why in the world's the bigger crowd for this team?" The Orange team. But yeah, I always look forward to it. The Clemson-Carolina basketball rivalry, I've always kind of gotten into it. To me, it's not as intense or like crazy important as football or baseball. Football, it's football, right? You always want to beat your rival. In baseball, those were 2 national powers. Hopefully will be again. You always want to get that one. Basketball, you almost play and you want to win, and then you kind of need to pull for each other because of the strength of schedule aspect of it. I find myself some of those Frank teams that were kind of semi on the bubble, I'd find myself pulling for Clemson basketball. I know some of you are like, "No, never." I mean, maybe I was more ambivalent, like I wasn't just sitting there getting up and going, "God, come on, Tigers. Come here, Tigers.
Here, Tigers. Get them."
I wasn't doing that, but I was like, it'd be okay if they beat Syracuse, the number 1 team in the country, because that makes Carolina's strength of schedule go up, and we're on the bubble, or they're on the bubble. Chelsea says, "Hopefully the crowd's rocking tonight." Yeah, students are there. So Cynical wants to show the shirt again. Yeah, he likes that shirt. There you go. You can also get it in black or white. Krager says, "Do you have Big Spur t-shirts?" Yes, I can get those too. $25. I'll get them out to you. Cynical says, "Yeah, that's true, JC. I forgot what you responded to." Rod coming in from Facebook, coming in hot.
Yeah.
From Facebook. Most of our people coming from YouTube. You're coming from Facebook, Rod. That's awesome. Let's beat those Tigers tonight on the hardwood, then take care of the Gators tomorrow when toe meets leather.
Yes.
That is a poetic contribution. When toe meets leather. I like that. Krager says 34-20 Florida or 27-24 South Carolina.
That's that second quarter hedge.
Yeah.
Or the second half hedge, right? You got to throw it in just in case.
J-Rock brings up an interesting point. Don't expect this to be a low-score game over the last 5 years. Gamecocks, 30 points, 407 yards. Gators, 29.6 points and 375 yards. That's true. And keep in mind, though, one of the defensive coordinators that just about every offensive coordinator here has figured out is Todd Grantham.
Yeah.
For the Gators. I mean, A.J. Turner and Mon Denson ran crazy over Florida every time they played them. I mean, Grantham was just that. And then last year you saw what happened. So there's a new coordinator there. It's a different defense. There's some similarities, but I expect so too. I expect there to be points on the board. The question is how many can the Gamecocks put up and how many can they keep the Gators from scoring? That was a Captain Obvious statement if I've ever heard it. Here's how the game's. Here's the key to the game. Don't let them score points and you score points. All right, good. That's a brilliant insight, JC. Brilliant.
You win the game when you score more points.
Seth comes in 39-31 Gamecocks. Cynical comes back in. He's not so cynical right now. Love your show and podcasts. Oh, I guess JC and Morgan, that would be the podcast. I'm either working at home, on the road, or in the field. Awesome. I appreciate it, Cynical. Thank you. Yeah. JC and Morgan's actually a pretty good college football listen. I don't say is that the cat?
Yes.
Meow.
It used my hand to climb up on the table. So now I've got holes in my fingers. I've got a finger, JC.
Phil's got a finger.
Questionable. I got a finger.
Yeah, he's got a finger. You're going to need some Neosporin on that. Cavalier says 35-27 Gamecocks with help from special teams, a turnover, and offense. Score 21. My man Quantrell, who knows? 24-20 South Carolina. Nice thing here from J-Rock. To all my fellow veterans, thank you for your service and all you sacrificed. We owe our freedom and life as we know it today. To y'all, happy Veterans Day. Well said, J-Rock. Well said.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mary says, let's take care of the Tigers tonight on the hardwood, then beat the Gators tomorrow when toe meets leather. Mary, just you're copying my man Rod, dude. Or are you the same? Is it the same person? Because you're coming in from YouTube. Hold on.
Let's scroll up.
I don't know. That's very interesting. And Nick says our special teams. They're the same people.
No, maybe not. I can't tell. The pictures are too small.
Mary is just copying it. Yeah, let's do it. Maybe I can sneak this one in here. Oh no! Now it is the same person. If you go, we scroll down. I saw that. Cynical says you're gonna make me spit my coffee out. Yeah, I spit my coffee out just about every day. It's too hot. Colin says Clemson, like UGA, barely even tries in basketball. I think the Gamecocks care a lot more about the hardwood. Would like to start playing like it in the near future. The problem with men's basketball at South Carolina is they went through a period. It's always been mismanaged. Okay, I'll just be honest. Yeah. From forcing Frank McGuire out unceremoniously and pissing everybody off that had any kind of winning. And at any time, to not hiring Bobby Crimmins because they were after the next big thing in Bill Foster, to firing George Felton, another alum who could have healed the old wounds, who was 25 over 500, to the Crimmins fiasco, to forcing Fogler out, to not hiring Crimmins over Odom, to keeping Odom too long, the Worcester credibility, the Darren Horn freaking hire. All right, so let's start with Worcester credibility. Dave Odom's second NIT championship team was a Sweet 16 team.
Yeah.
Okay? Sweet 16. They beat national champion Florida twice during the regular season and were a missed three-pointer away from beating them in the SEC tournament championship game where they had knocked off Kentucky, Mississippi State. They had knocked off a lot of good teams to get there. Tennessee. All right. That was a good basketball team. He should have been fired after that. Okay? But instead, everybody's like, oh, NIT banners. All right. So he has 2 bad years and leaves. They hire Horn. The place is still packed for big games because Horn won 21 his first year with Devin Downey in that group. Terrible schedule, though. They didn't get in the – excuse me. I just hit the microphone. They did not get into the NCAA tournament. So then there's 3 years of Horn. Then Frank takes 4 years to get the NCAA. So that's 9 years. During the same time, okay, baseball's winning national championships, building toward that. Spurrier's getting it going in football, winning the East. Dawn Staley, who came in at the same time as Darren Horn, it took her about 2 or 3 years, but she's going to the Sweet 16. People are digging that. Men's basketball games, Frank didn't have very much talent his first few years. And, so the idea, and rightfully so, was to just play defense and play like man ball, ugly 44, 48-point games, Nobody wanted to watch that. At that same time, they started putting every single basketball game on TV, or at least streaming. So the program eroded. The Final Four got it back for like a month, and then they went right back to underachieving and all that. So yes, I agree. South Carolina cares about men's basketball, and they should. But that erosion, and you think about all the kids that are now they're adults, obviously, that came off the out of school during that point in time, whose whole experience at Carolina, they never cared about men's basketball because there really was nothing to get excited about.
Yeah, just no excitement at all.
Almost a generation.
I know. I never thought about it like that, though, JC. Almost 10 years.
Yeah. And that's not even counting the mismanagement back when they were a national power under McGuire, which is a different era of college basketball altogether. They were in the ACC, number one. Number two, the sport had not been fully integrated. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that makes that a little bit different situation. But Frank McGuire kept winning. And, I mean, they were an independent, which is difficult in hoops. And then he got forced out. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So that's the deal. Joel comes in. I'm gonna start calling him Positive Joel.
Positive Joel.
Positive Joel says not a good weekend ahead for the Gamecocks. This basketball loses 69-51. And football 41-14. Very sad weekend ahead.
Let's hope not, man.
Positive Joel, man.
Positive Joel.
Cynical says, I'd like the T-shirt in black and a big spur one, too. I was agreeing with you on people and their hypocrisy. Oh, I agree. With that. Well, send us can you send us your sizes to insidethegamecocks@gmail.com, your mailing address, all that good stuff. And, we'll get it going from there. So I'll be glad to order those for you. And I got to send you the Venmo too. So, because you got to pay, right? They're not free. Marion is Rod and Rod is Marion. I came on YouTube now where I normally listen. I was just on Facebook, came across the show. All right, thanks, brother. I was wondering, I was like, how did you steal this guy's thing? And I was like, well, wait a minute, because I didn't recognize Rod. I do recognize Marion. I was like, that's kind of weird. J-Rock, 36. Jeez. J-Rock says 36-34 Gamecocks from Latta, South Carolina, home of Donnell Stanley and Raymond Felton. Donnell Stanley. Eli comes in with something strong. Already bet the $100 trillion man. Just need to knock off Sunbelt Billy for the all-sep double. Yeah. So I was on a lot on the Gamecocks today, and Keith. So we make picks, right? And so against the spread, and I think he took Auburn. I don't know. I think so. So you'll know if he has 7 lost Jimbo in his hashtag this week. Ashley says, I haven't seen anybody mention this week former Gamecock coach Mike Peterson will be on the other sideline tomorrow. That's true. And former Gators defensive back coach Torian Gray will be on this sideline. But you're right. Mike left this past offseason to go back with his alma mater. Cynical says 90% of my T-shirts are either FJB or some derivative. So I need a couple of big spur ones.
Gotcha. Keep it light. Keep it light.
Arthur says if the Gamecocks run for more than 150 yards, they beat Florida.
Sound reasoning.
Gamecocks are what? When they're over 100, they're undefeated?
I think so, yeah.
5-0, I think so. Zach says got to hold Florida less than 200 yards rushing too. That's true because the Gators are 5-0 when they're over 200 and 0-4 when they're below.
Yep.
Arthur says, as far as men's basketball goes, Michi Johnson is the key. A lot of what he does won't show on the stat sheet. Yeah, I know, but he still has good stats. I mean, there's a reason he was a top 100 prospect, right? You know, I don't know what went wrong at Ohio State with him, but he's really good. I mean, I think he and Gigi, Hayden Brown, and then the other guys have to contribute, rebound, play, you know, all that good stuff. Arthur says a lot of wide receivers are out for Florida. Their starting tight end will be out too, so stack the box. Phil, let's see if we can look up an injury report.
Yeah, I'll get some Florida intel here.
Get some intel. Quantrell says, JC, do you think if LJ Peak signed with Carolina and was part of that Final Four team, do you think they'd win it? I didn't think Dozier, Thornwell, and Peak wins it. I think, honest to goodness, Quantrell, and I like LJ Peak, and I thought he was really good. I think South Carolina wins it if they don't have the flu, because they all got sick. Frank was talking about it. My gosh, they dug deep and came back from 14 down, took the lead. And it was just like when I was there, and it was just like when Gonzaga took that shot and it rolled off and then it was like a bowling thing where the pin kind of starts to fall and then it doesn't. It rolled because we jumped out of our seats because we thought they had missed it, right? And then it went in and went, oh, I think that took the wind out of the sails. Carolina goes down, misses a shot. Gonzaga gets a 5-point lead. And then at the end, they just didn't have enough. But I think South Carolina, had they had that extra energy, would have won it. And I'm convinced they'd have beaten that North Carolina team. That North Carolina team won it all. It was probably one of the sloppiest trips to the Final Four in Tar Heel history. They almost blew the lead against Oregon. And then they beat Gonzaga pretty good because Gonzaga just played so bad, as they typically do in championship situations. Have you noticed that about Gonzaga in basketball?
Yeah, they look real strong until they need to. You know,
Baylor took them to the woodshed a couple of years ago. So I think Carolina's defense and pressure and toughness would have given that Tar Heel team, which was kind of a bunch of guys that were like, oh, we're really good at basketball. I think it would have given them a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Zach says a healthy Thornwell, we win that game. Yeah. All right, Meredith's got her prediction in. I need to add that to the article on the Big Spur too, so she's kind of like a part of what we do here. 31-21 Gamecocks, Lexington, South Carolina. Okay. And love seeing the hat in the background. Yeah, I switched the Carolina Rise hat with the Meredith hat because I was like, well, we have stuff. Carolina Rise is up on the screen. So I switched it. And I got more coming with the hats and stuff and all that. Justin says Gamecocks win it 28-24. He lives in the orange fog of Pickens.
The orange fog. Yes.
That's more like a bog, like it's a. You cross the Pickens County line, you hear it. Sat needs to use more quick game or RPO to beat Florida this weekend. I don't like the dang RPOs. They when they say they're RPOs, they were where you throw it off to the sideline.
No, yeah, or the RPO that ends up with Spencer just laying down at the line of scrimmage. That one, not a big fan of that either.
They're just running it. I mean, taking the PO out of it.
I agree. There needs to be more quick game. Yeah,
it needs to be more quick game. What they need to do is just got a note here from my in-house producer. It says, "Don't forget to tell people Happy Veterans Day." She's obviously not been listening. Thank you, Nat. Thank you, Nat. But yeah, that was actually sweet. Thank you. But no, I think that what they did against Vandy is fine. I think they need to throw it downfield more with what you call like intermediate routes. Everybody's the boots, the waggles, the slants. The things we don't see. I don't He said,
And on the Florida injury front, they are a little depleted.
all right, well, let's give us
Yeah.
the injury report, Phil.
So let's see. Justin Shorter is listed as questionable. I believe he was one of their prime targets. He's being replaced by a freshman. They're starting a lot, like at least 2 freshman wide receivers. Let's see. They had a freshman, Jaquavion Fraziers, who made his first start last week, is out this week. Trying to figure that out. Behind, I don't know. They go in depth on the guys that are starting. Their kicker is out. Trey Smack, with a lower body injury. That's not good.
The kicker's hurt?
The kicker's hurt.
Phil, I believe I think that could be significant, Phil.
That might be more important than the receivers. Golly.
That's very curious.
You're bend but don't break. Bend but don't break really comes into effect when you got a walk-on kicker.
You just let them kick the field goal. They're not going to make it.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, they're dealing with some injury problems too, which is good because we are too in our secondary. So
yeah, so Shorter's out in Pearsall, and the Frazier caught a touchdown against A&M last week.
Yep, and he is out. Yeah, Pearsall's out.
Pearsall's out.
So let's see. Behind. No, he's okay. No, I got that wrong. He's actually filling in as starter. So
that's the kid from Arizona State. He's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they're a little banged up there.
And
their tight end is I guess it's Zipperer.
Zipperer is out. Yeah, Zipperer is out.
Yeah, good because he's good. Gamecocks recruited him.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Gamecocks are recruiting his brother. Offered him. I don't know if things have progressed or anything. So there's that.
Their corner Devin Moore is out. I don't know how good he is, but
is it a starter? As long as it's a starter.
Yeah, I think
they're not all that deep.
No, they're not, and their defense is not all that good. So take that for what it's worth.
All right, Juice Wells. And the plan will end up being let's just not throw it to his side.
Jeez, I know.
I'm trying to be nice. All right,
but that's right. Positivity.
Gotta stay positive. Stay positive. Stay positive, y'all. All right, we have to take a break. Kreger, though, when we get back, Phil. I'm gonna let you read this interesting tidbit that I knew about this. I should have mentioned it, but Kreger's got some interesting stuff on Gamecock point guard Meechie Johnson as we set you up for tonight's basketball game as well as the football game tomorrow, right here on Prediction Friday on Inside the Gamecocks show. We'll be back after these messages.
Just as your State Farm agent combines good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates, you can combine your home, auto, life, or small business insurance with Tony Pope State Farm Insurance today. And guess what you'll get? That's right, even more good neighbor service with surprisingly great rates. In fact, Tony Pope State Farm is your go-to agent anywhere in South Carolina, North Carolina, or Georgia for the service you deserve at the price you want. So try combining your home, life, auto, and or small business insurance today. Tony Pope State Farm has been in business for more than 30 years and can handle anything you need in the tri-state area. Once again, Tony Pope State Farm will help you mix and match perfectly. Call 843-851-2222 or visit TonyPope.com today. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at MERTaylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
What's up, this is Jaheim Bell with the Gamecocks, and you're now listening to Inside the Gamecocks show with JC and Phil.
Welcome back to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, everybody, with JC Sherbert and Phil Molinax. Of course, it is Veterans Day, and we appreciate your service. Thank you so much to all of those who served our country. And the first hour of the show is brought to you by Cindy Searfoss at Coldwell Banker Kane Realty. Here in the upstate, give Cindy a call for any of your residential real estate needs. 864-414-5271. We'll get you in touch with Cindy. And then back to the Nana Sports chat box, JC. We've got Kreger in here with what was happening with Michi. So Michi was injured early at Ohio State, then came back and took an elbow to the face and broke some bones and just never got going. Yeah, probably an orbital or something like that. That's a tough one to come back.
That is tough, yeah.
Just face shield time.
I mean, so I guess when you have an injury like that or something, it probably does you good to maybe get a new a new environment surrounding or whatever. And he had a lot of good things to say about Lamont Paris in the preseason. And from what I'm told from contacts with basketball, the players love this guy. I mean, they love Lamont Paris, and he's a different kind of guy, kind of understated, dry sense of humor, calm, kind of the opposite of Frank.
Yeah, he's definitely got a different court presence than Frank. That's for sure.
And look, man, I was the biggest Frank fan on the planet. I thought the guy was. I think the guy's legit. He's a legit, real dude. I think sometimes he wears his heart on his sleeve. How about that? Yeah. But I think whenever it's time for somebody to go and you're looking for change. It's not always bad to kind of, get somebody that's kind of got the opposite deal, opposite demeanor. I think for somebody like Josh Gray, who really struggled last year, and, Frank was on him and on him and on him and on him and on him, takes him out when he makes a mistake, that kind of thing. It probably is helpful, to have a different approach. Not that Frank's approach was wrong and Frank was never going to get him there, but maybe having a new voice in his head helps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Xavier says you could watch that Final Four game. Thornwell was clearly not himself that night, missing most of his shot. He was sick, and you could tell. Yeah, he made a few, but yeah. Clint says, I'll go 30-27 Gamecocks from the big city of Taylor, South Carolina.
Right.
By the way, Phil, somebody asked me on the message board the other day, he's like, did Phil still live in Taylor's? I was like, yes. And he's like, I went to elementary school with him.
Yeah.
I don't know that guy's real name at all, or gal, or whoever. But Joey says, any insight on the walk-on tight end from IMG? Not at the moment, Joey. Let me track down some info on that one.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I was wondering.
I haven't tracked
a player from IMG. I was surprised.
I think he visited and was a walk-on candidate. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen at tight end. That Reed Masaka kid who was committed to Clemson out of Texas. It's Carolina, Miami. My understanding is the Gamecocks could probably mess around and get him. So that'll be another tight end in the class. And then watch him go, like, get an air raid guy that only runs 5 wide and all the tight ends transfer. We'll have 6 tight ends here, sir.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got a room full of tight ends.
I don't use it.
But are they really tight ends?
Zach says Carolina 34-27 from Lexington. Rattler throws 3 TDs. I'd love to see Spencer Rattler get a second straight 3-touchdown game.
Mm-hmm.
Get those stats up. He's at 8 touchdowns, 9 picks now.
Oh yeah.
Get him over get him better than average. Maybe says, can we just put Doty in there and run the coastal triple option RPO offense? You want to talk about confusing everybody? Let's do that. Let's put that in this week. But that, it's par for the course. Lexi laughs at the in-house producer comment. J. Rice says, not sure whether to expect 400-plus combined rushing yards in this game or 60-plus combined passes due to both defense selling out against the run. If that's the case, I would like to say Carolina would win.
Yeah, I like our chances in that shootout style.
Passing and all that. So, I don't know. Scott goes 42-38 Cox. Both teams have over 200 yards rushing, but a late TD pass from Wattler to Wells for the win. Krager says the Gators have a lineman out too.
Yeah,
defense or offense?
Their depth chart. I was just sitting here looking at it again because they've got at the bottom of theirs they put a full injury report on there. So, yeah, it's they don't list their positions though, but we already Frazier, Shorter, Zipper, Moore, Smack. That's the kicker, and then they got a Ortiz, White, Boardingham. And Elkson or something.
Elks is maybe the guy. I don't remember. I'll go look at it. Anyway, Florida's a little beat up. I got some injuries. Krager says, don't forget the veterans, clown.
Now, hold on. Let's pull this up, JC. Okay, y'all, for everybody, this is my mom. I fell in love with Gamecock basketball at 15, watching 43 Kevin Joyce play for Frank McGuire. And by the way, years later, I was entertained by McGuire saying 3-point land time and time again, calling games. I never knew that about my mother until just today.
I think she's confusing Al McGuire with Frank McGuire.
Al McGuire, right? Yeah,
on the TV part. Part. I confused them too. I mean, when I was a kid, I had to remind myself about that. Kevin Joyce, John Roach, Tom Reebok, name your guy, Casey Manning. I mean, a lot of Bobby Crimmins, a lot of great ones back then. So yeah, hey, back in the day, Gamecock basketball was hot stuff around the state. Maybe Frank McGuire did call games. I don't know. Somebody tell me that. Somebody talk about that. Or if Frank McGuire did call games. I know Al did, but maybe Frank. Chandler comes in 34-24 Gamecocks from Rock Hill. I'm noticing a lot of similar scores on these predictions, Phil.
Yeah, they're right in there, pretty close. And I don't know. I'm definitely picking the over.
Yeah. The over-under is a little low, I thought. Chandler, Clint, if we can't beat Miami out for a recruit right now, they've been the biggest disappointment in college football this season. Yeah, well, I hate to say this, but, money is a factor with Miami. And look, that may end up blowing up in their face, but I don't know that Reed Masaka's got a big NIL thing lined up with them or not. So maybe it will happen. Brian says, "Morning, fellas." Always good to hear from you, Brian. Jim comes in, my guy who's in the radio business, by the way. Fell in love with Gamecock basketball my freshman year in '93 when the highlight was when Norm Green came off the bench. Norm Green, John Breckenridge, Bill Verneau. Who else was one of those guys? Some of those guys. Stephon Eggers had one good game against Clemson one year. David Ross later on. Yeah. Norm Green. Wow. Norm. Queesy's just going all in. He says 50-17 to break up all those similar scores. The Gamecocks win.
I'd love to see that too. Yeah, 7
touchdowns
and
what would Steve Spurrier say if that happened on? I'd hate to listen to his podcast. How'd they give up 100 to the Gamecocks? Shoot.
Another disappointing.
Clint said the Gamecocks had a football player named Norman Green too. Yeah, he was a DB, I think, from Sumter. Really good, highly recruited player. Not as great as we thought he was going to be, but he's pretty good. Doc rolls and says, "Morning, all." Morning, Doc.
Morning.
Had to slip in a prediction. 41-24, Florida and Richardson. Too much for our defense. Oh, by the way, if you ever get a chance to work at a polling location, say no. Brighter days ahead. All right, Doc. He probably went to work at that polling location and it's like killed his spirit. Like his spirit's just dead. Like he couldn't even, because Doc's probably been in the chat box this week, but I don't quite recall.
Not quite so heavy. Yeah, right.
Not quite so heavy. So Doc, your spirit is broken. You need to get the Doc, get the flux capacitor working and go to 1985. Listen to some Huey Lewis in the news. The power of love. You know, don't get shot by Libyan terrorists.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's the power of love. I like that song.
That's a great song.
USC Seggy, first time watching live. Thanks, Seggy.
Thank you.
Carol or Amos get some reps this week. I don't anticipate it, but hey, you never know. You never know what the big secret plan is around here. You know, here's what we're going to do. I've got a brilliant idea. Let's put Nate Atkins at quarterback.
Yes.
Touchdown, Greg Atkins. Don't forget the veterans clown.
Don't forget.
USC Seggy's from El Paso, Texas. Was that a typo? And you said El Lasso. I think it's El Paso. Gamecocks win 42-19. Wow. A lot of confidence against the Gators.
Yeah, it's all over.
Krager says, touchdown, Huey Lewis. That's the power of love. Mike Morgan one time was talking about Clemson in the ACC, and he goes, in the ACC, you know, because Mike's got that TV voice. Like in the ACC, here's the thing. He's like, Clemson is Huey Lewis, and the rest of that league is the news. That was funny. Huey Lewis and the rest of is the news. J-Rock says Spurrier has a podcast. Yeah, he goes on Shane Matthews' podcast. And that restaurant he's got down there, they do have a podcasting studio. So the head ball coach's like, shoot, we do a little podcast every now and then. Just shoots like radio. Just sit there and put my headphones on. Head ball coach, like I was coaching, like calling plays. Again, I'm not doing a Spurrier impression. I'm impersonating James Bates' impersonation of Steve Spurrier.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's like the Tiger mascot. It's a copy of a copy of a copy.
Just gets faded, more faded and fuzzy.
All right, our podcast audience, it's just the podcast didn't see that. Phil had a great beady-eyed tiger face on. I tried and failed miserably. Macadino podcast comes in. How we feeling for tomorrow, Gamecock family? Well, man, I'll tell you this right now. It's been more positive than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I mean, Doc's not positive, but he's been beat down by society all week.
Mm-hmm.
Brighter days ahead.
That's right. And Joel mustered as much positivity as he could. I mean,
my fiance thinks I don't love our country. I mean, but other than that, everything's hunky dory. My glasses are all wrong now. But anyway, yeah. I mean, look, man. Florida. Here's the thing about it. I this year, I think the Gamecocks, and maybe makes a point. But pull this up, Phil. Here, maybe says, I feel so much better this weekend than I have since the A&M game. Here's why, I think. South Carolina, when they've played now, with the exception of Arkansas, which is an outlier, which whoever decided they were going to go 5 wide and chuck it all over the field and not run the ball. I mean, and then they couldn't stop their offense. Teams that don't have very good defenses statistically, Carolina's done pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I know Kentucky was ranked up there, but you know, they had a good half up there. But A&M not ranked high defensively. Gamecocks did well. Vandy not high. Gamecocks did well. So, you know, Missouri, and I'm curious to see how they try to attack Tennessee this weekend, Phil, because I was looking at the Missouri defense today. Number one, they got a lot of future NFL players. Number two, they have a D coordinator. Oh, guess what? They got rid of Steve Wilkes. Big win for him over the Falcons, by the way, last night.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They got, Steve Wilkes went back to where he belonged in the NFL, replaced him with Skip Holtz, former D coordinator at Louisiana Tech. And look at how much better they are. Maybe that should tell people something about NFL schemes. But anyway, they also went to the portal and got Tyrone Hopper, some players in the secondary. I was looking at it, with the exception of the K-State game in week 2, which is out there, new kickoff. Offense turned it over 4 times. That's a triple option style offense. Missouri's defense has answered every single challenge. Missouri's played well enough defensively in every single game for them to win, including Georgia. So I'm curious to see kind of what they do at Tennessee. I'm not expecting miracles, but what will they do? You know, and here's the thing why I think everybody was so worried about Missouri was everybody kind of realized, looking at their results from the whole year, pretty good football team on defense. I do think that game would have turned out different had Lloyd not gotten hurt, though, because Florida was able to run it on them and loosen them up a little bit earlier this year. And I think Lloyd eventually would have done the same because he was basically just running around them. And they were having trouble stopping him. He goes out and just, it's like game plan out the window, you know.
Yeah, and he's been our only offensive identity up until that point. We saw a little different against Vanderbilt just because our hands were forced. So I don't know. You just gotta. That's the question I think this week is what you got coming into the swamp.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the offensive game plan coming into the swamp?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel teams that cannot, like A&M, teams that are not good defensively. Carolina has a pulse against them. Jared says, "What should the expectation for Keenan Nelson Jr. be this week?" Well, unless they have massive injuries, I don't think he's going to play on defense. Maybe some special teams.
Yeah,
that would be it. USC Segi says, "What's the name of the podcast with the USC players on it?" Oh, shoot, I know it's the Crow. Is it the Cock Crow crowing something like? It's Josh Van and Darius Rush. It's good. It's good actually. Cocky something.
Completely cocky.
Completely cocky. I encourage everybody to check that out. Jim says, "I need some optimism. No faith we can contain a mobile quarterback." Well, I got your optimism right here. Haynes King from A&M is a mobile quarterback. Did a pretty good job bottling him up. The Georgia State quarterback did not really run crazy. I know he had some gains here and there. Last year, Sam Howell, North Carolina. That's kind of a similar situation, I think. Sam Howell of North Carolina and Emory Jones from Florida in terms of how the Gamecocks have schemed to stop the quarterback run game. Because going into those games last year, Phil, both pretty good Gamecock wins, it kind of similar to this. It's like, well, they're really good on offense. You got to stop their quarterback from running it. And then they're bad on defense.
Yeah.
So those were two of the biggest wins of the season last year. So matched up pretty well against those teams. But I don't know. Maybe said you could see Missouri coming, and I was nervous we were going to shat the field against. That's a new thing now. They call it shatting. Against Vandy. This game feels like no pressure, for better or worse. I was concerned about the Vandy game till the week of, and then I was like, they're really bad. They'll bounce back. Mac and Dino say, JC and Phil, what's y'all's favorite memory from the football program? Mine was the 2012 UGA game. I'm from Rosewood area in Columbia. Yeah. I used to live down that way. So I could hear the crowd from my house while watching the game.
Oh, I bet.
That was a loud crowd. I don't know, man. Probably my favorite memory, like live game I went to. 1994 Clemson with my buddy Michael Norkett. Is it like my one Clemson buddy? Gamecocks won 33-7, and I got to talk a lot of smack.
I was thinking Clemson myself. Yeah,
both Outback Bowls were fun.
Oh yeah.
In-person game. See, I wasn't there for Alabama in 2010 or Georgia in 2012. In person, I think probably it's when Carolina went to the Swamp and won the East. I was at that one. I was crammed into the visitor section like a sardine, and turned sideways, right? And when Lattimore, it was before the half, Lattimore called a pass, and the Gamecocks were just kind of trying to cross midfield. I think they were 12-7. Lattimore catches this pass. He zigzags, goes, and literally ran out of bounds right within field goal range with like 3 seconds left. And I think Spencer Lanning, i.e. Lanning Spencer, I think he was the kicker on that team, hits like a 48-yarder. Gamecocks are up 8. And then Lattimore just ran wild the rest of the night. At the end of the game, the stadium is empty. Steven Garcia runs over Will Hill and stopped at a great, nice, delicious Whataburger on the way back home. Got a nice meal. So that was that was really fun. In a losing effort, 1987 Miami at the Orange Bowl with my dad was my first big road game experience. I was always thankful that I got to see a game when the Hurricanes drew a crowd at the Orange Bowl. That's had a good crowd there too. Macadino says if Steve Spurrier had this offense, would we be the best offense in the SEC? He'd be one of them.
Yeah, you'd be right up there for sure. Yeah,
I don't think he'd waste. Shoot, I'm not going to waste. She throw the juice. Shoot, come on, Spencer.
Come on, Spencer.
Spencer messed up. Luke Doty'd be in there.
That's true.
Play somebody else. Shoot. Daniel, my boy from iHelp Consulting, one of our sponsors, my original sponsor.
That's right.
First sponsor I ever had. iHelp Consulting Mailbag, 37-16 Gamecocks. Man,
bringing some defense down there.
That's something else. All right, so we're going to continue to scroll down memory lane in the Nana Sports chat box. Got to check in the iHelp Consulting mailbag to see we have some predictions coming in.
Yeah, I think we got some
tweeters out there, I think. And we'll be back to do the second hour of a Prediction Friday episode of Inside the Gamecocks, the show. If you're a listener, I feel strongly that if you're in the upstate and are in need of real estate services, Cindy Searfoss is your go-to person. Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane can help you with any of your realty needs right there in the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg, Anderson, Oconee, Pickens, wherever you are. Cindy can help you with that. She's married to a diehard Gamecock fan, has been in the upstate for more than 35 years. Right there in my hometown of Spartanburg, Daniel Morgan Avenue. Contact Cindy, 864-414-5271, or email csearfoss, CSEARFOSS, at cbcaine.com, CBCAINE. That's Cindy Searfoss, a proud sponsor of the Inside the Gamecocks podcast. Check her out. We've already gotten several emails from listeners that are very impressed with her professionalism and her ability to help you with your real estate needs. 864-414-5271, Cindy Searfoss of Caldwell Banker Kane.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. Nana'sPorch.com. Go there, food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest.
Well, it does appear that
Nana'sPorch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Yep, time to get back to the show. Shoot. All right, my man. Well, it's a big.
Go ahead, man. I don't know what happened right there.
Man, that's just like the whole thing froze.
Oh, really? That's funny because it was normally when I play the little videos, it mutes everybody, and it didn't mute you for the Nana's Porch spot. So I was like, well, maybe it just thinks it's him. So it turned his mic back on. But rest in peace, Gallagher, the comedian. Everybody go smash you a watermelon today. He is
You're
fun.
Kidding.
Yep, 76 years old.
I love Gallagher.
Same.
God.
Yeah, I know.
They don't make him like Gallagher anymore. That
No.
sucks. This ruins my day. Yeah, I don't know what happened there with the pause right there, but I'll probably edit it out for the podcast thing. So people aren't sitting there going, is it over?
Is it over?
And then what will happen is, see, that's a different audience than our chat boxers and our live listeners. That audience has been with me for a while, and I'll get emails. JC, your podcast just cut off in the middle. Well, how long did you give it? Up to at least 10 seconds. It's the impatient crowd.
It's that dead air, the radio
like,
people.
Oh my God,
like, no,
what are you doing?
Scan.
Well, a lot of people listen to it while they work out, which I think there's a lot of people that now that we're 2 hours instead of one, they're probably losing weight and in great shape. They look like college referees now because,
yeah, that's right.
Like, they're like, yeah, I've got an extra hour of work.
Ripped.
But, it's like, you screwed my gains, bro. My gains. Did get my gains, bro.
Yeah, man. Put a hitch in my leg day.
Macadina says this is the best offensive talent I think we've had at South Carolina, and this O-line's very underrated. I mean, as far as guys with potential to step up and make big plays, it's a deeper type of situation. I don't know that this offense has allowed anybody except Marshawn Lloyd before he got hurt to be a superstar. in it. I mean, last year, Zaquandre White, I think by the time the end of the year came, obviously he was one of their best players. Large stretches of games where he didn't get the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Jim says we got a big jump on A&M and held on for dear life to a certain extent, but Haynes King didn't really hurt them running the ball, I don't think.
Yeah.
USC Segi says Lavoisier Carroll's known to have good speed. That's true, 4.4. How is his vision and his shake and bake? He's more shake and bake than vision. He's kind of a slasher type of back coming out of high school. And I think he can get there. What I've heard about him is that he's got to get him back accustomed to the position because he spent a year at Georgia playing corner. And so, at the college level, there's not a lot of development you have to do at running back if you're a running back the whole time. But when you go away from it for a while, then you're coming back, kind of getting your feet wet. But really, that's the stated reason why, he probably wasn't going to play a whole lot this year. Mm-hmm. Why he's not in the mix now, I couldn't tell you. It's for him and Rashad Amos and to a lesser extent Dante Miller, it's kind of a mystery to me why they don't play those guys. I mean, are they bad? Are they fumbling in practice? What's the deal?
Well, we could be saving them too, JC, because now at the end of the year, we got 3 games left. So any guys that have played 1 or fewer games can still play the rest of the season and keep their red shirt. Yeah.
Red shirt.
Yeah, so maybe we got some diamonds in the rough coming up.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Macadino points out Alshon made some tough catches in that 2010 game. The UF corner was tough. Janoris Jenkins. Yeah, Janoris Jenkins. Shoe buddy. That guy was good. I remember Janoris covered him as a recruit. I think he's from Pahokee, Florida. Love players from Pahokee. If they're good, they love football. Janoris ran 4.91 at a camp, and so some people were like, on the recruiting end of things, we never ranked him as high as we should have because of that. I don't know what he was doing that day, and honest to God. You talk to college coaches about him, and they're like, we don't care what he ran. He can play.
Yeah.
Really good player, and he was never speed deficient. I mean, really a great player for the University of Florida. And Alshon completely ate his lunch that night. Just jumped up over the top of that because Janoris wasn't very tall. Alshon just jumped up over the top of him and caught it. Macadino Podcast chimes in with a prediction, 30-20 Gamecocks.
30-20, all right.
M.A. Dare says, Happy Veterans Day to all who serve. Thank you for your service. Very nice. Appreciate that. Rick comes in from Jacksonville, 24-20 Cox from Gatorland. Hope you didn't get that bad of weather down there, Rick. I saw some of the, film from St. Augustine. My God, that was a little more serious than I thought. M.A. Dare, Florida, 33-17 over the Gamecocks. All right, there's another loss from Greer, South Carolina. Grr. Rick says, no dead air, clown. Doc says, Doc comes clean. Been keeping up on Spotify, mostly retired these days, but work has creeped in this week. Just think this matchup doesn't favor us. I sure hope I'm wrong. Love the show. Be back on Monday. But Doc, it's okay, man.
No, man, we're good. Just remember, being retired means there are no days off.
Absolutely. So I don't feel bad, Doc. It's okay. I mean, look, part of me says the matchups don't favor South Carolina. Part of me says Florida's not good on defense, but they're fast and athletic, and you never know what's going to come out of the magic box or play calling.
That's the thing that I've wrestled with all week is like, well, I mean, I have zero confidence that in what the offense is going to look like until it actually hits the field.
We're going to run.
You just don't know.
Come, Mr. Bigglesworth. We're going to run 1 million plays.
1 million plays.
100 million plays. But part of me says that. Part of me says that looked a lot different last week. And whether it was someone doing it on their own or someone getting help or someone mandating that they do that? I don't know.
Yeah, with their face held to the desk to do this. I don't know. And that's what I mean. That's where my confidence comes into it. Is just like, why? But I don't know. It's like there's two schools of thought, right? Why would you change what's working? Why would you change what's working? It worked last week. Let's just go back with a similar game plan. And then I'm like, well, look who we're talking about.
No doubt. No doubt. Nah, but it won't be that way. I think someone else like, all right, today we're going to run Mr. Bigglesworth. Today I want to go take a page out of the playbook of the great Brian Daboll with the Giants.
Great.
Mr. Bigglesworth, tell me what the Panthers were doing on offense last night. Let's do it. Quantrell says, if you remove Nick Saban from Alabama, what true advantages do they have over the following SEC programs year to year? Florida, Georgia, and LSU. Location, talent base seems to favor those programs more. Just the thought. Yeah. And Alabama and both. I'll say this. Alabama, for a state its size, in South Carolina, I think if there was a more concerted, like, okay, if there were more, like, let's say in addition to Coastal, you had, I don't know who else would go, FBS, but, because you have, in Alabama, you have a Troy, you have a South Alabama, you have a UAB. So they automatically have more Power 5 or FBS level guys in that state. But they also have a lot of, unlike South Carolina, they have a lot of talent pockets. In other words, like your players in Birmingham, Montgomery, and Mobile, or they have more players coming out of those cities than, like, say, Columbia, Greenville, Spartanburg, and Charleston. A lot of good players from South Carolina come from, like, in the middle parts, right, away from the cities. And so that all feeds Alabama. But I'll say this, Quantrill, to your point, and I didn't know this till I did some research on Bear Bryant one day. And I started looking at, I read a couple books on him and kind of talked about recruiting. And he, just like Nick Saban, went out and recruited nationally. And I remember when I started at Rivals.com, it was the 05 class. I had a couple of Mike Shula classes that we covered before Saban came in. And then Saban's first two classes were this way as well. Alabama didn't even recruit Georgia. Like they wouldn't go into Georgia and compete for guys. Auburn would go in there and sign 6-7 guys. It was basically Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, and then they go try to pluck guys out of Mississippi, completely shut out of Louisiana. If they got to give them Tennessee, it was Memphis. So when their, I guess, footprint shrinks, there's enough to compete in the SEC, and there's enough tradition and support and facilities and all that good stuff to win. But to win big, two coaches have basically done it. And I know Gene Stallings had a good year and he won and all that, but two coaches have basically done it. And they both have expanded the footprint. Saban got him back into Georgia. And then Saban, once he started winning, they go all over the country. And they signed plenty of guys from Alabama, don't get me wrong. But they also go and how many quarterbacks from California and Hawaii and places like that have they had? How many offensive linemen from the Midwest? I mean, they go out and recruit all over the place. Auburn has a little bit different philosophy, but their problem's been they've kind of, while they've struggled and gone through all this transition, they don't compete with Georgia for players in Georgia anymore. They used to beat them routinely. They used to be able to go down to Florida and pluck guys, and then they go head-to-head and split with Alabama in the state, and that's not happening. So that makes it – you make a good point. Whereas like Florida, Georgia, and LSU, Florida doesn't have the state to itself. And, I think the Florida schools in general don't have as much of an advantage as they used to. But still, look at their recruiting class. It's top 10 in the country. All but two of them are from Florida. Georgia has the third or fourth highest talent producing state in the country, all to themselves, because ticket office, they're not gonna do anything. And LSU, Louisiana's loaded. even though South Carolina is a bigger population than Louisiana. But anyway, and Louisiana is also right there on that I-10 corridor, so they can go hit the panhandle of Florida all the way from Jacksonville through Baton Rouge, New Orleans, all the way to Houston.
Yep.
That I-10 corridor. If you ever go down the I-10 corridor just looking for players, right? I think you could find probably 5 to 7 high-level Power 5 defensive line prospects in that area. If you go from get in the car, go from Jacksonville all the way down I-10 to Houston, through Mobile, through New Orleans, through Baton Rouge, through the Cajun part of Louisiana. I guess it's all kind of like that. Lafayette, all that over in the western part. And then all the way through East Texas to Houston. Man, you can get that's why Nick Saban rebuilt LSU like he did, because he looked at a map. It was like, Lance goes.
Yeah.
My man Lance, what up, killers? Happy Veterans Day and Army Pride from your friendly drill sergeant. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service. Joey comes in from Gaffney, 3324 Gamecocks. Blake, you disappoint me in some ways, but not in others. 3120 Gators, unfortunately, from a rainy Sugar Tit, South Carolina. It's next to Reedville. It's a suburb of Reedville. Shout out to my boy Jamie Ray from Reedville. Maybe he's listening, maybe not. Reedville, don't mess with Reedville. Krager's eating leftover pot roast. He says it's even better 2 days later. I kind of agree.
I like
just a little pot roast.
Yeah.
Eat a little pot roast sandwich. Microwave it. Maybe put a little American cheese on the top. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Dr. Evil. Krager says Phoenix City, Alabama puts them out. Yeah, that's right there on the border near Auburn, near Columbus, Georgia. And then Adam says Bayou La Battery.
Bayou La Battery.
What about Greenbow, the town of Greenbow?
Yeah, that's right. Go into
I seem to remember this old boy named Gump that ran from Greenbow, played for the Tide. Anyway, predictions coming in. Gamecock Pastor had some. Here we go. From Lyman, South Carolina. 31-27 Gators. Prove me wrong. All right, Gamecock Pastor. There you go, buddy. Brian from Greenwood says, I'm going 38-34 Gamecocks. There you go, bud. Yeah. And this is from the IM Consulting Mailbag off of Twitter. Dave Dorn's burner had a pretty interesting tweet the other day that I enjoyed, and I'm going to try to read right now if I can scroll through. He's a prolific tweeter, so I'm just trying to get through it. Dave Dorn's burner is also a pretty awesome thing here. Maybe I don't have it. Maybe it was in here somewhere. But anyway, Dave Dorn's burner had a question or something yesterday. Johnny Atkins says, we can win this game if we play smart football. 10 penalties won't do it for us. I agree. That you can't have penalties, man. I don't know what. Sometimes teams play games, and like Beamer said this week, he said South Carolina is one of the least penalized teams in the SEC. So, and that's what kind of gives me, I didn't. Some people are like taking the Vandy gun, going, "Oh, can't stop Vandy. How's it going to work?" Yeah. And I'm like, well. What does that really mean? I mean, you're week to week, I mean, Vandy held Missouri to 17 points and 38. Gamecocks scored 38 against them, so that's the transitive property keeping through. But that's my thing, when teams do things that are out of the ordinary, and I know statistically the Gamecocks are not a great defense against the run, but it's not like they've been getting completely gashed since Rocket Sanders did it to him for Arkansas. Yeah. Georgia had a lot of yards and all that passing and throwing, but I think we see this year Georgia's not line it up and run it 50 times a game. I mean, they're a balanced offense. They're going to do what they do. So if this were something that had been happening all year, I'd be like, yeah, there's no way they're stopping them. However, that was really atypical what happened in Nashville the other night. And it was raining and slick, and it's Vandy, and it's a high school stadium. I mean, kind of reminded me of Snyder Field in Spartanburg. It's lit the same way. I'll tell you that. It's bigger than Snyder Field. But what's where Wofford used to play and Spartanburg High School used to play. Snyder Field. They tore it down at Gibbs Stadium now. But, yeah, I mean, it's a different environment. You know, I don't know that we can glean that Carolina will definitely get run all over through and around on Saturday based on that. I think if they do get run over through and around against Florida, it's because Florida did it to them and they weren't good enough, and not because they didn't have it at Vandy. So that's my thing. But, you know, so anytime a team does something atypical, you know, I kind of hedge towards, it's not going to happen for the second straight week. And the penalties are one of them, you know. Rattler needs and deserves his best game of the year, he says. Turn Bell loose, and Joyner needs to be on the field. I think if Joyner's on the field, he needs to be a quarterback.
He needs to be under center. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Snapping the ball. But, yeah, so thanks for that, man. Upstate Gamecock just finished up today's episode. This was yesterday. It's an hour before I started the show. I had a conversation with my friend where I said, if DK played quarterback, Muschamp may still be here. He said I was crazy. Thanks for the validation as I sent him the clip. That's an interesting thought. DeCarrion Joyner versus Ryan Helinski in the BMAC offense in 2019 after Jake went down.
I don't know. I've often thought of that as a missed opportunity. Not so much that year, but last year.
Well, yeah. Oh, last year.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you kind of think about it. But I started in 19 and really in 2022, Phil. I'm not see. So if let's say Joyner played in that system, and keep in mind that year you still had Rico Dowdle when he was healthy. You had Tavian Feaster who could run the ball. You had a pretty good offensive line. They weren't as good as 2018. They're pretty good. You had Shi Smith. You had Brian Edwards at receiver. Xavier Leggett was coming on as a freshman that year. You had Nick Muse and I believe 23 years old Kyle Markway. The 23 at tight end. So DeCarrion, probably a bit more mobile than Helinski, don't you think?
No,
it was a heavy RPO offense, and all you do with a dual threat quarterback like that, like Joyner, when you have a heavy RPO offense, you just tag the quarterback run. So in other words, instead of reading run, hand or throw, he's reading hand, throw, or keep, which in some ways makes it pretty tricky to stop. I don't know. Muschamp maybe doesn't go 4-8. BMAC doesn't leave because he doesn't get encouraged to leave. Bobo never comes in. You keep going with Joyner in 2020. I don't know. I don't know. I hate playing the hindsight game because I'll be honest, I wasn't one that kept yelling for this. I was like, nah, he's probably a receiver, something like that. And so I was probably wrong, but looking at it in hindsight, it's very interesting to think about kind of the players that were on that team and what that team was lacking. And I think because Ryan Helinski put up some numbers early that we all kind of thought he was the next star and all that, because he put up numbers against, that Charleston Southern team I've talked about, and then played well against Bama, for some reason, played well against Bama. But as the season went on, I was told more times than not just how, he was less than ideal. They still thought he was going to start the next year. Bobo comes in. He was still going to start. The pandemic hits. And then they just had to play Colin Hill because Hill beat him out. He was just better at running things. Yeah. And we know Colin Hill was less than ideal that year. So DK probably could have done it. I mean, I always thought, heading into this season, I was like, well, if Luke doesn't improve that much or doesn't get to where you want him to be, just leave DK at quarterback and let him have a Blake Sims at Alabama type final year next year. But I don't know. That's probably not in the cards. It's not in my book of 1 million plays, Mr. Bigglesworth.
I think I might have found that Dave Doran's burner one from the I Help Consulting mailbag. Is this the week for to finally let Stone Blanton loose? The linebackers aren't getting the job done, so something's got to change to stop Florida's run game. Maybe Blanton would be another Eamon stud freshman for us.
Well, Stone's been playing.
Yeah, he has been out there.
Look, dude, if that was the answer, I'm all for it. Whatever can help you stop the run, I'm all for it. I love Stone Blanton. I think he's going to be a really good player here. Inexperienced linebackers, though, sometimes take false steps, and then a 5-yard gain becomes 40.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, no, But
and Coach Limbo talked real positively about him this week, too. He definitely mentioned him. So
yeah, he's
always good when Pete's calling you out.
Yeah, there's a reason he was a 4-star linebacker and a big priority. And, what a job of recruiting by Clayton White, Derek Moore, who had a lot to do with it, too, getting him from Mississippi State. He's right there in town or in the general vicinity. Not easy to get kids out of Mississippi these days. So hats off to them. I think he's got a bright future. I think Donovan Westmoreland's going to be pretty good, too. I think there's some concern about Debo Williams right now as far as like the false steps, getting out of position, all that. I noticed he was out of position a couple of times. I don't know. Here's a little idea to throw out there before we get to our final break. Those of you that, kind of like to dig into the game and stuff, and Lady Bree, of course, has been
speaking of which, she's quiet today.
Yeah, I hadn't seen her today. Lady Bree mentioned about spying Anthony Richardson. I think Debo Williams could be a pretty good spy.
It kind of simplifies the plan for him. You've got one job.
He's an attack. He's an attack dog, and one thing he does is vertically. When he pinpoints, he closes really, really fast, and he hits really, really hard.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that, and he would just be a disaster. But if I'm going to spy, I'm probably like, maybe I'm going to spy with Debo. I don't know.
Debo.
All right, so I'm going to read this one thing. Going to go to break out more chat box stuff from Lance. Corn Pop was a bad dude. Corridor from Quantrell. We got a lot of stuff there. So back to Bioula Battery is what I'll do, but I want to read this from Kreger. Todd Ellis, Woody Allen, down to the 23 years old.
Hannah and her sisters. I love what Blake said after that, though. 23's too old for Woody Allen.
Warren Beatty, too, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Warren Beatty's getting canceled. He's 85 years old, man. He's been happily married to Annette Bening for 40 years. He's like, what are you talking about? Right? There's a comedian named Jim Jeffries. He's Australian, and he's very funny. And they somehow got talked into going to what's her name? The one that sings the Christmas. I don't know. All I want for Christmas is you. Who's her?
Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey. He gets invited to Mariah Carey's birthday party to tell one joke. And Warren Beatty and Al Pacino are there drunk. And he talks about Al Pacino walking up to him. He's like, so you tell stories, do you? I'm an actor. And Warren Beatty's just sitting there like he was flirting with everything that moved. So anyway, I got way off track there, but yeah. Anyway, we will be back. More Nana Sports Chat Box, more predictions right here. Prediction Friday on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. JC and Phil to wrap up a wonderful week. We'll be back.
If you're looking to sell or buy multifamily property right here in South Carolina, the Burgesson team of RE/MAX at the Lake can help you get to closing fast and easy. Adam and Derek Burgesson both are very proud Gamecocks and are more than happy to assist you with any of your commercial real estate needs all across the state. You can email Adam at aburgesson@remax.net. That's ABERGESON at remax.net to get your next deal underway. The Burgesson team, proud sponsors of Inside the Gamecocks.
Attention golfers of all ages and skill sets. Former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor will be a full-time golf instructor in the Midlands of South Carolina very, very soon. You want to take advantage of this opportunity. If you're like me and you got to get a whole lot better at golf, or even if you're looking to refine your swing, Meredith is the person you need to go to. She's competing in her final USGA Mid-Amateur Tournament this summer before going full-time into teaching and coaching individuals. If you're in South Carolina, Meredith will be conducting in-person golf lessons at the Country Club of Lexington, half-hour, on course. She'll play 9 or 18 with you. If you're out of state, though, this is really exciting. She'll be conducting virtual lessons. You can send in your swing for her expert analysis. Also, in November, she'll launch an online course with video instruction for all ages and skill levels. Meredith has 20-plus years of knowledge, former SEC golfer, all of that. So contact her on Twitter at Taylor, at MERTAYLOR, or go to McKellarEnterprises.org. McKellar spelled MCKELLAR, Enterprises.org. Her email's on the website, so you can connect with her for any other questions. Go get your golf game in order. Take advantage of Meredith Taylor and her services.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hey folks, JC here. I've told you about Nana's Porch over and over again. They sponsor our chat box on the show. Don't take my word for it, though. I wanted you to hear from Gamecock pitcher Noah Hall about our sponsor, Nana's Porch. Nana'sPorch.com. Go there. Food truck, catering, whatever you need. Take it away, Noah.
What's up, Gamecock fans? This is pitcher Noah Hall. If you want some delicious food for your event, I suggest visiting Nana'sPorch.com today to find out what they all have to offer. It's really good Southern cuisine based out of Charlotte, my hometown. I hope you guys go check it out. Go Cox and go Nanas.
Hey, man, are you sick and tired of your business computer guy?
Yes, he takes forever to call me back and doesn't always respond to the requests.
Yeah, same here. I'm paying him good money. I constantly have issues, and I'm worried he's not backing up my network and securing it properly.
Oh, I feel that, man. My head hurts, but I have a good lead on a good idea. I'm calling your boy Matthew Odom today from Heritage Digital. Heritage Digital is an IT firm that specializes in making sure your IT network runs like a dream. If you have 1 or 500 employees, it doesn't matter. They do it all for one monthly fee and have clients from South Carolina all the way to California.
Yeah, I heard that monthly fee's low too, so I don't know why I didn't even think of that. Do you have 843-699-1001 as Matt's contact number?
Yeah, man, I sure do that. Or you can go to heritagedigital.com.
Man, I hear they do a no-cost assessment. Boy, this will help me.
Yeah, I bet.
I'm getting on that and encouraging everyone else to do the same. Heritage Digital, 843-699-1001 or heritagedigital.com, a proud sponsor of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
This is Braylon Wimmer, South Carolina Gamecock Baseball, and you are listening to Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Go Cox.
Are we back?
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Inside the Gamecocks, the show with JC and Phil. Boy, I don't know what I'm doing. Friday, let's go.
It's Friday.
Friday.
Oh, not Saturday more. Shut up, Robert Smith.
Some of Lance play as lattes. It's almost latte time, man.
Oh, there was a Twitter thread about lattes. Lance is like, maybe JC's had a few lattes, and he's like, or no, Chris from Spurs Up Show said that. And JC's has a few lattes, and Lance goes, "Oh hell, he looks like he could throw back a few."
Yeah,
I respond is like, "You don't even know."
Yeah, right.
You don't even know.
You don't even know.
You don't even know about the lattes. Anyway, Quantrell asks, speaking of corridors, is the I-85 corridor just as good as I-10? So I-85 goes from Richmond, Virginia to Montgomery, Alabama. Yeah. I mean, if you travel that highway, because think about it, Quantrell, you got Montgomery, they put out players. You all the way up, you're right there at Columbus, Georgia, and Phoenix City and LaGrange. Keep on trucking up the road, and you're in Atlanta. My gosh, Gwinnett County, Fulton, DeKalb, Gwinnett, all of Atlanta, up through northeast Georgia, which has Gainesville and Toccoa and some other stuff, up through the Orange Fog area, through Greenville, Spartanburg. Gaffney is on 85. Gastonia has a lot of players that comes out of it. North Carolina, Charlotte, go. You're in the triad. My God. Greensboro, Durham, High Point, Raleigh to a certain extent. You have to kind of go on 40 to get to Raleigh. Go, nothing, not anything. Richmond, Virginia. Yeah. And so, because it terminates in Richmond, Virginia. And Juice Wells is from Richmond, Virginia, right? So, Phil and I have a friend that used to live in Richmond, Virginia, right?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
So
she's back home now. But.
Yeah, been there for a little while, but used to live there. I remember. Corn Pop was a bad, but yeah, just a Quantrell. Probably if you the reason the I-10 corridor stands out is just because like specifically the D-line talent. But I mean 85, yeah, man, you go up and down 85. That's actually a Quantrell. I have to give you crap. I've never thought of that before. And I've did this recruiting thing a long time, so thanks for teaching me something there. I need to start talking about that. Makes me look smart, man. I-80, I wrote it down, I-85. And here's the crazy thing, Quantrell. I grew up on I-85.
Yeah, right.
Burns High School is right off of I-85. I'm like, I've driven up and down I-85 like most of my whole entire life since I was a kid.
Every inch north and south.
Should have thought about that, man. Should have thought. Speaking of recruiting, Corn Pop was a bad dude. I like that name. Can Beamer keep taking players from the DMV area? Can that become a big hub for talent for USC long term? Yeah. Now the DMV is Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland, and so Eric Wolford actually did a pretty good job getting linemen out of Northern Virginia. Even the guy that transferred, Jesus Gibbs, is like a stud D lineman at Towson State. Jakai Moore's from Northern Virginia. Vershawn Lee, Northern Virginia. Carolina needs to keep working it. That's an area that's a little different than Maryland, D.C. in terms of those kids all have big schools. It's basically a big D.C. suburb. It's a lot like Gwinnett County and Atlanta, in my opinion, those areas. And so you got Alabama, Georgia, you got everybody goes up there, Penn State, all those teams. So the competition's a little thicker. Then you cross into D.C. and Maryland, and there's competition, but it's a lot of Big Ten, some SEC here and there. And I think the Gamecocks have done a heck of a job in D.C. and Maryland, which is where you can kind of get more low-hanging fruit from time to time. It's kind of a different place. And you look at the commits they got now. I mean, you got 3 from that area. If you get Nick Harbor, it's 4 in this class. I think Carolina can if they can get between 2 and 4 blue chippers from DC, Maryland every year, then that's 2 to 4 blue chippers. You don't have to rely on the state of South Carolina to produce. And you don't have to worry about going into North Carolina, Georgia, or Florida or Alabama. So yeah, I think it could be a big hub of talent. The University of South Carolina has a ton of students, and there's a ton of alums that live in DC because, the law school, politics, government, all that. And it's the closest drive to the area in the SEC. There's parts of Northern Virginia, I think, maybe a little closer to Tennessee, but Carolina is that easternmost school, can have that. And I think with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league and the overwhelming need to have to get elite talent. You can evaluate your way to a really good football team, I think, pretty well. But you're always going to have the blue chippers, and you got those two schools coming in. So you're going to be playing loaded teams every week. Every program, I think, has to look into carving out its niche. I mentioned Alabama and Auburn, Auburn earlier. Well, historically, Auburn looked around and they went, man, we're way over here in eastern Alabama on the plains.
On the plains.
In Alabama, it skews 70% Bama, 30% Auburn. Auburn has a ton of alums in Atlanta. And I think they looked at it and they went, well, let's kind of recalibrate here and go tri-state area and look and go, well, we got, you got South Georgia right there. You got Atlanta right there. We can compete in those areas, and we can go down to Florida and compete and get guys. And Tuberville did a good job of that. Tuberville beat Alabama 6 straight times, had an undefeated team that probably should have won, the national champion, played for it that year in 2004. He did a pretty good job at Auburn, right? Now he's a senator. Don't talk smack about him because he's going to hear you with those ears. Quiet. Don't mention Tommy. Don't mention Senator Tuberville. He'll hear you.
Senator Tuberville.
But so I think every school needs to do it. Tennessee's whole thing for a long time was hitting the Carolinas and Georgia and rating those places and then going national. I think Georgia has done a nice job of trying to make sure that, because they're not ever, it's so big now in Georgia. There's so many players. You're not ever going to be able to keep every player home. But man, I mean, you look at what they're doing when, they went and got the big offense, the big tight end that looks like a tackle, Darnell Washington. He's from Las Vegas. And then the stud tight end from California, Bowers, is from Folsom, California. You guys know the song Folsom Prison. I'll see the train a-coming. But that's not like L.A. or San Francisco or San Diego or so. It's way the heck in the backwoods of Northern California. So they found this guy, and I think they've been resourceful backfilling with studs. Kylie Ringo's from Arizona, for example. So I think every school kind of has to have, their niche where they're not always, just relying on in-state talent. I think unless you're Florida, I think Florida, that's a good strategy. Just don't sign. I mean, if you sign all the top players in Florida every year, you're going to compete with anybody.
Yeah, Florida, South Georgia right there. I mean, that's all you need.
I mean, Saban, Les Miles, Ed Orgeron, all those guys, that they hit up the Houston area, to backfill. In Texas, you got Arkansas goes in Dallas and tries to get players. And they go down to Florida too. So I think every school kind of needs their little spot where they're good, right? Where, okay, we're a player in this area out of state, And South Carolina is a smaller state. I don't buy that as an excuse. But the number of players in the state has not been as high as it once was. I don't know. I'd love to figure it out. If I lived there, I'd probably go on a crusade. People tell me the high school league has a little bit to do with it because of the all-season rules or something, which I think is preposterous. Don't make me move back and start a crusade against those guys. They're nice people, most of them. But I do think schools like South Carolina need that spot. Clemson does a really good job in Georgia, right? And in North Carolina most years. And so if you can go and tap into the DMV, which per capita, Delaware is a top 10 talent recruiting state in terms of NFL talent. That's per capita. There's nobody that lives there. Maryland, D.C., you can get 2 to 4 guys up there a year. That could be South Carolina's, just because it's a popular place. It's close relative to the rest of the SEC. A lot of folks from up there go on vacation in South Carolina. And that's something you can sell too, Florida's done it for years. Nobody thinks about the fact that school's in Gainesville, Florida, in the middle of nowhere. People think Florida, the beach, Disney, all that. Yeah, it's here, but you got to get in the car and go. I think South Carolina can sell the same thing. Hey, look, hour from the mountains, hour from the beach, whatever. So anyway, my little spiel about recruiting there. Lance rolls in with, we got to find a way to win this game. Gamecock Nation needs good things to happen. And winning in the Swamp would make our year because it may be a rough end of the season. I'll say this about the rough end of the season. I don't know how good Clemson is. And I'm not trying to get your hopes up.
No, right, yeah, but I mean, yeah. They weren't all that good last year. And
they've been living dangerously all year, and I've watched a lot of Notre Dame, and I thought, well, hey, the wind, right? The wind could be affecting them like it affected Ohio State at Northwestern. But I looked at DJ was 27 for 39.
That's not too bad.
And I don't know why those big guys they got up front couldn't stop the run.
It's not like 65%. Yeah.
And they haven't, the Syracuse game, they didn't even wake up till the fourth quarter. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, it's a little different vibe. Because at this time last year, Clemson's getting ready to play Wake, and they're getting ready to play this. And they were ready. They started going on a run, and you started. By the time they got through Louisville and Wake Forest, you thought they're hitting their stride right at the right time. And they had Brent Venables as their D coordinator, so I don't know that that's just going to be a complete butt whipping. I think
you're just going to shut down the run game. I mean, if you can stop number one, you're going to have a good chance of winning the game.
Yeah, and so there's that. Tennessee, I agree. It's unlikely the Gamecocks are going to find a way to slow their offense enough. And then I think their defense is kind of designed to make you one-dimensional. So I don't have a whole lot of faith in the X's and O's matchup there. But it's at home. And Tennessee's played how many games Tennessee played on the road? LSU was on the road, but it was at noon.
Mm-hmm.
How many road night games have they played?
Oh, night.
None?
So, yeah, I don't think they've played any.
They played Pitt, and that was a day game. And it's Pitt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. They didn't.
Most of their stuff's been like mid.
They seem like they played at home a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were in the tough environment at Georgia. So, but they got that stellar Carolina trip, and then that stellar trip over to Vandy at the end of the year. Hey, if Derek Mason and Derek Mason was still there, Pruitt was still there, or Champions of Life, or whoever, Derek Mason did squat. He was terrible as the Vanderbilt head coach. But he could always.
He could beat UT.
Something like 4-3 against Tennessee, and that was after Franklin had beaten him once or twice. And Vandy at some point won like 5 out of 7 against UT.
It's going to be interesting in the next coming seasons to see if Tennessee can keep this momentum up. I don't know. And, I wish Heupel the best, and he's doing a better job than I really thought he would. I mean, I was not a Heupel guy, similar to you.
Yeah.
Hey, hats off to him, man.
Did you see the meme where he looks like Bobby Hill from King of the Hill?
God, yes.
Oh, Bobby grew up to be a great football coach. It's an evil plan. We'll hire Bobby Hill to run a fast-paced offense that snaps at every 1.5 seconds.
1.5 seconds.
Come, Mr. Bigglesworth.
1 million plays.
Bring me my playbook of 1 million plays. Old Bobby Hill won't stand a chance against
the size
this.
of an index card.
There probably are no plays. It's just called fast.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Fast 1, fast 2, fast 3.
Blue fast.
Come, Mr. Bigglesworth. Bobby Hill will have no chance against me and my 1 million playbook. He would know what hit him. Blake says if Josh Heupel ran our 2022 offense, could our players put up similar numbers that their players have? I kind of think so. Bullish on our skill talent if properly utilized. Yes. Mm-hmm. You got deep threats. You got sure-handed guys can go across the middle. You got bigger guys like Leggett and like Tillman. What's the difference physically? Now, I'm not talking about football player-wise. Physically, like athletic. What's the difference between Xavier Leggett and Cedric Tillman? Nothing.
Nothing. Yeah,
no, physically nothing.
Fast, football
player-wise, Tillman's elite, and Xavier's just kind of now starting to show. But Spencer Rattler. I mean, maybe he couldn't run. He's not as hard to tackle as Hooker. Hooker's bigger than Spencer.
He's a little smaller than, I was going to say, because
he's a little small. So maybe in the run game, old Spence would, have to slide and stuff. But running backs, though, you tell me Marshawn Lloyd and those cats. I mean, look, I honestly think Dante Miller and Juju McDowell are great backs for the Tennessee system. They are. I mean, Jabari. Yeah. I read the other day, Jabari Small gets hurt their running backs coach did vol calls, right? And he said Jabari Small gets hurt every game, and he hadn't finished one game this year, but because he's he is small, He's like, but that's just kind of who he is. We don't care. And that's the thing. Like, negative things happen, and they don't even care. It's like, that's what I respect the heck out of how they play, because it's like, oh, yeah, we don't care. We're just going to chuck it in the end zone anyway. And, let's zero blitz every single play and dare them to run the ball. Right. And LSU just kept running it. They were like, oh, come on, man, we're LSU.
We'll just keep running the ball. No, you're just going to give it back to them.
Corn Pop was a bad dude. Says stack the box and make them pass. Go Gamecocks. J-Rock says, I think DK should have been quarterback since 2019. It frustrates me how he has been mishandled and severely unutilized. Yeah, did you think that in 2019, though?
I mean, of hindsight now.
He goes on to say I was never sold on Helinski like a lot of others were. Yeah, I was wrong. Now, you don't ever want me to get into the Colin Hill Ryan Helinski battle that I did. Because I knew the truth, and I was just trying really hard. Don't throw Helinski under the bus. He's a good kid. He'll figure it out, but I had to stand up because people were just slandering Mike Bobo and everybody else. And
that was all that favoritism crap. Yeah.
Any coach in the country would have played Hill over Helinski. And I actually think, they were a little lenient and still tried to give him a shot later in the year when they started losing. Jay Wright says, how do we start calling the Statue Hill over DK? That's mind blowing. By that point, they had no receivers, and so they're trying to make DK a receiver. And I don't even think that year quarterback was on the table for Hill. They tried to play Doty at receiver that year because they had one receiver.
Yep.
Shy. Mm-hmm. Xavier was playing and then just disappears because I guess he had a leg.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, Bobo told us after Muschamp was gone, he had a leg.
Yeah, you don't find out about it till Bobo takes over. Yeah, he's a good player. Unfortunately, he's been out for the year for 6 weeks. Bullish Nizami Rebel, like Champ said, quote, he can sell ice to an Eskimo, and did it to DK. DK was the lead 11 quarterback. And others of that group, of course, had flaws. But that's not why. Is that not why you go to college, to develop more? Kurt Roper recruited to carry on, and I think he sort of reminded him of one of the kids, the dual threat kid he had at Duke when they were really good and almost beat A&M in that bowl game. But then he left. BMAC comes in. They get Helinski. Jake's an incubus, entrenched as a starter. I don't know, man. Looking back on it, if I were Brian McClendon, I'd have probably tried it in 2019 after Jake got hurt, just to be honest. And that's in hindsight, and I'll admit to all of you right now that are listening that that is not what I thought at the time. I'm not trying to go back and question anybody in hindsight. I'll admit I didn't know. I did not know. In hindsight, though, probably wouldn't have been a bad idea. Quantrell says, I grew up off of 85 as well. Lived in Walhalla, a lot of quick trips to Atlanta. Walhalla. Home of the Razorbacks, Woo Pig Suey. Bowers is from Napa. I thought he was from Folsom. No, he's not.
I know it's California. That's what's just so crazy. It's like, Jesus, really?
He's not from Folsom. He's from, oh my God. Jake Browning, who played quarterback at Washington, I think, is from Folsom. I screwed that one up, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, same thing. How far is Napa from Folsom? Somebody give me a map of California. Craig says we need to recruit North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and the DMV. But I also think you got to spot recruit I think you got to try to start getting into the 757. I think you got to still spot recruit Alabama because those kids tend to pan out. If you can get a leg up on a kid or two in Tennessee, I like that they have signed guys from Mississippi and Texas and places like that. But you can't count. You can't count on those. Some year like this past cycle, they got 3 kids out of Texas. Well, probably getting none this time. Because it's far. The further you are, the more you need to spot recruits. So,
you're about 80 miles between Napa and Folsom.
That's not bad. It's kind of like Spartanburg and Columbia. Not bad. I'm stuck in Folsom prison, and I need a map to get back to Napa. Cynical mentions that Clemson won't be able to handle the boots and waggles. Adam says Folsom is Sacramento.
Yeah.
Just bullish, yes. JC, you good. Hell, you're not the one that didn't start it. I could have led a crusade, man. I look back on it. I'm like, man, I missed my crusade there.
Get everybody down there with their torches and pitchforks.
I was sitting there blaming BMAC for. Well, I mean, I guess it's BMAC's fault. I mean, for Helinski scoring 2 touchdowns for Missouri in that game.
Oh my gosh!
Nick says Mazio Bennett's going to regret his decision. That's Mazio has a long way to go before he signs. I mean, he's calendar year away from early signing of 2024. So I just give it some time to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So what else? Quantrell says, talking about the growth of South Carolina. Segi mentions that South Carolina's having a growth in population. Absolutely. Yeah. Look, man, you talk to people in Chicagoland, and I kind of expected, because I'll be honest, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in Chicago until I met her. I'd fly through here for work every now and then, on my way to Portland or something. One time I ate a Chicago hot dog at Midway. I covered one camp here one time. One time I covered a camp in Purdue and drove from the airport to Purdue and back. I mean, just very little, unlike maybe L.A., New Jersey, up and down the East Coast and West Coast. I went to those places a lot. The Midwest, we had another guy that did it. So I didn't care. And plus, it's Big Ten football, right? So when I moved up here, I expected everybody to go, where's your Confederate flag and stuff like that, or hey, you guys don't read, do you, and stuff like that. People up here are like jealous as hell, and they're of me. Like, you're up in South Carolina. Oh my God, lucky you. God, It's beautiful down there. There's golf courses all over the place. My God, you don't have to pay anything. I mean, they're like, wow, why'd you move here? It's like I moved to South Carolina from Hollywood, or Hawaii or something. And I've been surprised. Like, oh my God, I love that state. So anyway, Cynical says, thanks for the show. Take care. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Evan comes in. I will lose my what if Bell runs an angle route or a wheel route out of the backfield, and I would go boom, hurt me level if Juice runs a slant with the Bell wheel route.
My head might just like explode. Like, oh my God, I'd have to wonder if Satterfield were still conscious.
It'd be funny if they put the camera on Spurrier's box up there at the field, and he's nowhere to be found, and he's just sneaking there with his cell phone. Shoot, I think you should run this play for the Gamecocks. Yeah. There's a ball play for you, Marcus.
Here you go, Shane. Tell him run this.
It's like, put Justin Step on the headset. Justin,
get Justin. Somebody get Justin on.
Where's Freddie Kitchens? Oh, there he is. Quantrell mentions, funny you should say that, JC. I have a friend that lives in Naperville. He's looking for houses. And Anderson said he's sick of the cold and the Bears.
Nah. Don't blame him.
As Gamecocks, everybody feels like they know pain, and for the last 10 years, terrible offensive football. You've seen that. So imagine the Gamecocks, right? A big, large, passionate fan base. There's millions of them. and then multiply that times 10. And then put all the Gamecock fans in a miserable city with miserable people that's, under feet of snow for a good portion of the year, where you can't even go outside and play golf until it's 40 degrees in May. People just stay inside. Everybody drinks beer like it's going out of style because they just can't stand it. And then you got the Bears fan base.
Well, what do you expect for a team that only costs you $100? You get what you pay for.
That'll be $100. I want to buy the Bears
football team.
Give me $100 and a beef sandwich in an old style and a Polish sausage. Phil, give us your prediction. We got to get out of here, man.
Yeah, man. Let's see. I'm going 34-30. Good guys.
34-30 Gamecocks. So saith Phil. All right. Folks, we're going to be back Monday. It'll be Keith Allsep time. It's hashtag could say 7 lost Jimbo. If A&M beats Auburn, though, I wonder what I'll put up there. It'll be interesting.
Could be hashtag unemployed Jimbo now.
Hashtag no job Jimbo.
Hashtag jobless Jimbo.
Going to the beach. It's like Ed Orgeron, man. I think when they fired Ed Orgeron, they're like, oh, okay, we're going to fire you and give you $17 million. Well, what door do you want me to go out? What time do you want me to leave?
And where are the co-eds?
Go Tiger. I'm going to Destin, Florida for the rest of my life with this woman that's about half my age.
Yeah. It'll be spring break forever.
Spring break. Oh, my God. That's a T-shirt.
Spring break forever.
Coach O with like endless summer, like the endless summer, with like a headband on, like a T-shirt wrapped around his head like Rambo with a surfboard. It's a Coach O. It's a Coach O endless summer.
That's right. You got to have it here in like an airbrush shirt. Too,
airbrush shirt, endless summer.
Yeah.
Coach O, Destin 2022. Go Tigers. Go Gamecocks. Go Tigers. Beat them Gators. I'm going to eat them Gators. I'm going to make me some Gator stew and some average jambalaya here and watch a little ball with my fiancée that's about, she's 3 years older than me, but she's a little half my age. So, my friends told me I got her off the internet, but that's not true. Anyway, y'all have a nice weekend.